and gentlemen, welcome to Digital Talk with Darren Smith and my little brother Arian Smith. What's going on today, bro?
What's up, big bro?
Oh man, look, hey, I'm just glad that this is your idea with the name of the show. But for people who are watching or that will be watching a little bit later on after we load this video online, let everybody know what the show is about. And the show is basically about two brothers talking about different sports. Sports most of the time. There may be other topics and issues that we'll discuss in the future, but we both worked together. And we were just talking, going back and forth about some of the events that took place during the week. In the world of sports. A couple of them having to deal with Florida State University and their players. Another one, of course, that we'll talk about today, Serena Williams winning her 21st Grand Slam, the Serena Slam, as people are calling it, as well as talking about other stuff. I know,
NBA free agency.
yeah, I know that's
Oh
exactly
man.
something that you want to talk about. So just it's a good thing. We can just go back and forth. Some can be debatable, some topics, and we'll just sit back and we'll discuss about some of these issues and get different perspectives about it, as well as just figure out why some of the players do the things that they do and why they do the things that they do, and are there any solutions to it. So let's get started right away, and let's just talk about what's most recent, just because it took place today. Let's talk about Serena Williams winning her 21st Grand Slam, her sixth Grand Slam, her sixth title at Wimbledon. Talk about that today, and tell me what your thoughts is on that.
I think it's a big deal. I don't want to always try to chop it up to race, but as a black male, African American male, to see where she's come from in her life and to see where she's at now, her and her sister both. It's a great thing to see. It's a great thing for the sport of tennis. It's a great thing for our culture as a whole. So I mean, to see her be so dominant over the years, to have those different obstacles that she's faced with the loss of their sister some years back, and to see her just overcome that and just constantly just strive. I mean, I was at the gym this morning actually, and they were just showing some highlights of her, and I was ready to get off the stairmaster, man. I was ready to get off, and I was like, man, I got to train like a champion. And it was just looking at her. I'm like, man, Serena would stay on. Serena would stay on. So I mean, just to see what she's meant to that sport in general, what she's meant to the community, and what she even just means to women in general, I think it was a great thing to see that today.
And she's 34 years old, so actually she's the oldest person to win a Wimbledon title, at least the oldest woman to win this title. And so, I mean, for her to do the things that she's done, like I said, this is her fourth consecutive major title. They're calling it, like I said, they're calling it the Serena Slam, and she has the chance to win the U.S. Open later on this year, I believe in August. To actually complete the first calendar Grand Slam since Steffi Graf did it back in 19. I believe it was 1988. That's been a long time. Yeah, she won her sixth title. She won it 6-4, 6-4 in the championship round. And along the way, she had to, knock off her sister once again. So, I mean, what's to say about her, because initially this was always considered, especially on the women's side, a white woman's sport. This because we just, like this in golf before Tiger came around, we just really didn't do these type of sports and stuff. And now that you see it now, I mean, what does that make you feel?
It just shows that you can do anything. It's like you can a lot of times, you can make up the excuse of where you come from. Oh, I didn't have this. I didn't have my father. I didn't have my mother. I was raised in the ghetto. It's like you don't have to become what your situation is. So,
Yeah,
like I
because they
said,
grew up in Compton, California.
yeah. I mean,
I mean, if you can make it there, you can make it
yeah,
anywhere.
and nothing against Compton, but I mean, it's one of those things that in reality, it's like, man, you're not supposed to succeed, and to see it come from not just music, because a lot of times you see it comes from hip hop. You have the Dr. Dre's, the Game, people like that came out of Compton, and it was from a hip hop standpoint. But to see somebody working hard, day in and day out, training, preparing themselves uh, for greatness, it's just amazing to me, man. It's motivating. To me, even as a man, like I said, I don't want to just place a color on it, but just as a person, it motivates me when I see somebody that came from absolutely nothing and pretty much has everything that it could have ever dreamed of.
And the best thing that I like about Serena, as well as her sister, is the foresight of their parents, especially
Yeah.
their father. I mean, he got them into tennis at a very early age, and kind of, hate to go back to saying Tiger again, but kind of like Tiger and his father, started them at a young age and they pushed them. I mean, this is the direction that they were always going. They didn't have much of a choice,
Right.
and people talk about parenting, but when you see the end result of something like that, because a lot of parents, they try to live vicariously through their children, but this is just the area that he wanted them to excel in.
Right.
And when I see that just gives me chills in my spine, because when people say that, when they try to come up with an excuse like, well, they came from Compton, California,
Yeah.
where I mean, every day the police literally had a line where the residents from Compton and that part of town could not cross.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you cross that side of the line of the boundaries, and the police would rough you up. And so, knowing the adversity that they were going through, and to get to where they've got to. I mean, there's only two other people who have won more Grand Slams. That's Steffi Graf and what's the lady's name? It's right here on my tip, Margaret Court. And Margaret Court has won 24. Steffi Graf has won 22. And Serena, that looked like she's slowing down anytime soon. So she can. If she doesn't break the record, I'd be totally surprised.
Well, I mean, we're in a different time now too, where technology's better, training is better. They have
rehab,
more, supplementation, nutrition. It's so, I mean, it's really so many things. I mean, you look at athletes now. Look at LeBron James.
He's a freak.
He's a freak of nature. Yeah. I mean, like him or not, the dude is like a freak of nature. To see what he can do, it's not that it has never been done before. It just hasn't been done on the level that he's doing it. So you just look at them. You look at Jordan. Jordan was the best player ever in my view, even though I'm a diehard Kobe fan. But if I had to just say just all around greatness, I would give it to LeBron, just based off of pure, just God-given talent, just hard work, just his physique, just everything. It's a number of things. So I mean, Serena's in a position right now in this day and age to where she could easily break that.
Now let's move on to another subject, and we will touch on the basketball, because I know you really want to touch on that.
Buddy.
But before that, man, and before we even talk about the NCAA football, man, I want to go to the NFL.
Okay.
And we talked about it this week. There were a couple of football players that during the 4th of July holiday weekend were messing around with firecrackers, and I'm not sure the particular fireworks that they were messing with, but they were doing something to the effect where, they lost their fingers. One of them was Pierre, St. Paul Pierre, out of the New York Giants, and then there was another that was a defensive back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, what's your thoughts on that? And I mean, why do players risk? Because people say, well, it's a holiday, you spend time with your kids, but it's different when you're shooting bottle rockets and regular firecrackers, and then you're doing some M80s and things like that.
Why do you have it in your hand? I just that's why do you have this thing is going to explode? That's the purpose of it. Is going. Why do you have it in your hand? I mean, I understand spending time with family and having fun. Me personally, I'm not a big 4th of July person. I don't like watching my money go up in smoke. But
literally.
Literally. But I mean, why are you holding it in your hand? Put it on the ground. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. And to see just even during this the free agency process, just kind of touching on NBA a little bit, of how a lot of NFL players were reacting to the contracts that they were getting, all that guaranteed money that these NFL players don't get, and to take that kind of risk, to me, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it, to have a good time. You have to really, you have to be smarter than that. You know, I mean, I feel bad for them, you know, because you don't want to see anything bad like that happen to anybody. But you know, it's gonna explode. Don't hold it in your hand. You know.
Well, I guess my question to that would be is, where are their quote unquote friends and family? I mean, you would think that somebody around them would be like, you know what, it ain't worth it, or would ask the same question, like, you know, it's gonna explode, like, put it down. But even then,
It's a lot of yes men. That's the problem with a lot of celebrities in general. You know, I just put athletes in there too. They have a lot of yes people around them. People that's not gonna say, "Hey, that's stupid," because they're scared of getting cut off or getting fired. It's like, bro, like I'm trying to save your life. Don't do that. Put it down. You know.
exactly.
And I just think that they have a lot of yes men around them. You know, and there's nothing for me, if you're my meal ticket, I'm not gonna hey, no, let me hold that for you. You know, take my hands. You know, we need your hands. You're making the money. You know.
You know, and it's funny because for all of the faults of LeBron James, you know, the people put the blame on. You know what? His boys, he's kept since high school. I mean, he's enriched and he's empowered them, and so they're all rich and all rich through LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
But he's put them in a position to do so. And so they even make sure that LeBron is not in a situation where something would affect him or would affect his money. As Stephen A. Smith, the only bad decision that LeBron ever made was the decision itself by how he went about, how he did that with ESPN. But other than that, you don't see him getting in trouble. He is an advocate for civil rights. He's been out there for Trayvon Martin and other issues that have affected his community. And so I tell people all the time, if there's anything of a role model, I mean, this is the type of person that you want to be. I mean, he doesn't put himself in any position. I mean, even physically, he doesn't put himself in any position to get hurt or, like I said, shooting firecrackers. He's not going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's like you said. I mean, people. I mean, they give that man so much problems. I mean, this dude, he married his high school sweetheart. He takes care of his children. He said he's taking care of his friends.
No kids out of wedlock.
Yeah, I mean, He doesn't cause trouble. You don't hear about LeBron in the club getting shot in the leg. I mean, I know
or shooting himself in the leg.
Yeah, I mean, you don't hear about that kind of stuff. But like I said, not to knock other players. I mean, some people that's just their mindset. Some people think differently. It's obvious that LeBron has the right people around him. Because the same. I mean, if you look at Dwayne Wade, Chris Paul. I know they're all friends. Carmelo Anthony. You don't see these guys. You don't hear about these guys in the club with these incidents, and if it's happening, they got some great PR people that's sweeping it under the rug because you just don't hear about it. And so that's the thing. I think you just have to be smarter. You have to be smarter than that. That's just the reality of it. When you have millions of dollars on the line, you have to,
Well, but now you're not about yourself. I mean, if you're talking about that's kind of being selfish because you're doing that, but you ain't thinking about if something would have happened to you, the ripple effect that it has, on your team, on the season. Because, like, the gentleman from New York, he lost one finger, and then the gentleman in Tampa Bay, he's lost two fingers. So, I mean, if you can't play, or if you can't get on the field because you can't, grip a ball or hold on to the ball, how are you going to be any use to your team?
Right, and that's the thing. A lot of people probably want to be hard on New York because they're kind of essentially saying the same thing. It's like you just didn't affect you affected the team, and it's like, well, that's selfish. It's like, well, no, I pay you. This is your job. This is I pay you. I provide you the opportunity to live well, to provide for your family, and when you make certain decisions, it doesn't just affect you. It affects the household in general. It's like me as a father and a husband, any decision that I make financially and it has a negative effect is going to affect my household. And so that's how you have to look at it. But like I said, a lot of times, people don't look at it. They get caught up in the moment. And it's hard to say, hey, stop having fun. And, but I mean, you just got to be smarter than that. You just do. You got to be smarter than that, man.
Well, I'll tell you this. One of the other things that I'm looking forward to is to see what the teams themselves, because the teams themselves have not really came out publicly to say anything about it. They've given the standard, we wish them the best to see what happens, but they haven't said, what, if any, effect that it's going to have, on the team or their contracts themselves. I know the gentleman in Tampa Bay. He's going into his last year of his contract. So I mean, this could literally be his last year, or he may make it through training camp.
Right.
So because these contracts are not guaranteed. That's that's the flip side about that. Well, you know what? Because you were so patient, I guess we can't talk about the NBA because I was really wanting to go to Florida State. But
we can go to Florida State, man.
Yeah, Florida State might take a minute because by the time people view this on Facebook or whatever, we might have a lot of comments about how we feel about that situation or whatever.
Yeah, be nice. Be nice.
Be nice. You never know. ESPN or Fox Sports or something may pick up this show. You just never know. So we'll try to say the right thing and try to keep it politically correct. Highly unlikely. And and then, but so moving on to the NBA free agent. Obviously, the big news of the summer thus far, it has not even been LeBron James re-signing with Cleveland or Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving. All them staying together. It's been this past week and the charades played by DeAndre Jordan, who initially verbally agreed to a four-year max out deal with Houston, but at the last minute, Dallas. He was in Houston, but he was committed to Dallas, but then all of a sudden had a last-minute change of heart, made a phone call to Doc Rivers or one of the other. No, I'm sorry, to Blake Jordan, Blake Griffin. My God, we're on the same. Blake Griffin. Yeah, it is
summertime.
Getting a little lightheaded. But anyway, so he makes the phone call to Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin says, "You know what? You need to talk to Doc." So next thing you know, Doc, the president, the owner, Chris Paul, they all get on the plane and present this guy with a contract. And of course, they have to wait till midnight for him to sign it, and they keep him on such a lockdown that Mark Cuban can't reach him. Nobody can reach him. He's not returning. Some of the players' calls on Dallas. Give me your overall thoughts about how all that played out. Don't bite your tongue now.
No, I think it could have been done better. As a man, your word is your bond. It should be. That's the old saying, the old cliche. Your word is your bond. Just a simple phone call. That's all he had to do with Mark Cuban. It's just simply just say, hey, I'm having some second thoughts. We built something here, in LA, and if they're willing to, match our offer or exceed it, then I may just stay here and play. Just a simple phone call or even a text message. But I mean, to avoid him, to not take his calls, to I think there was even reports on ESPN stating that he called DeAndre Jordan. DeAndre Jordan said he was on a date. Mark Cuban offered to meet up with him and his date and fly them back to Dallas, and all these just trying to get him there. Doing what he's supposed to do as an owner. I want you to play for my team so we can win. And to not get a phone call and to just hear about all these different reports, via the internet, through ESPN, Bleacher Report, and different things like that. I just think that's kind of unfair, and I'm not knocking DeAndre Jordan as a man, because as a man you have to make the best decisions for you, but still as a man you have to give another man that respect. If he had enough respect that he saw something in you to come and try to sign you and to offer you, a max deal, and then you just turn around and just ignore him, I think that's wrong. And I think I was watching Mike and Mike the other morning. They even said, they would have expected Doc Rivers to even say, hey, just pick up the call and let them know. Just something as simple as that, but then to turn around and take to Twitter and apologize, it's like,
yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that because Mark Cuban addressed that, his quote-unquote apology, and he said, when is an apology not really an apology? And he says, when you didn't write it yourself.
Right.
Next. And that, I know you're not going to. I'm attacking his character because it says a lot. It says more about you as a man that you couldn't return the man's phone call, that you can answer the phone and say, "Look, I had a change of heart, Mr. Cuban. I appreciate the opportunity, but I'm going to re-sign with Los Angeles." That's the least that you could have done.
Definitely.
Because
even if you text him, I gave him a text message. Send him a text message. Say, hey, thinking about re-signing with the Clippers. LOL. Something.
Yeah, because the the contracts can't be signed until that midnight. So you have to, so you can change your mind. You can go back and forth, until the team pulls the contract from the table. And so, when all that happened, man, it just it gets me to think that, okay, if you're back out of something as big as that, what about the little things that that now I have to worry about whether I can trust you? Because I mean, you do something, you go to this extent where somebody's willing to. I mean, and another thing is, I'm thinking he didn't want to really be the franchise player.
Yeah, and he said he did. I mean, all reports,
he did or he did.
He said he did. There were different reports out saying that his whole thing was he wanted to be the man, and they were gonna build a team around him. They were trying to bring other people there to help him. Like me personally, I felt like him being with the Clippers was the best move. I didn't really. I mean, I know they were saying that there were rifts between him and Chris Paul. Those were different reports from ESPN and different things of that nature. But I felt like that was the best fit for him because he excelled under Doc Rivers, for the exception of his free throw shooting, which is just terrible. That's just fact. But other than that, I think that him going to the Mavs, I don't feel like that was the best fit for him. But I felt like Mark Cuban deserved more respect than that. Any man, Mark Cuban, it could have been Mitch Kupchak or the Bus family, whoever you go into, if you verbally tell these people that, hey, you offering me this, I'm going to sign here, and then you turn around and don't answer their phone calls, and that's childish. I mean, it is childish. I mean, as a 7-foot man, you're a man. You're a 7 foot. You're a man. I'm older than you, and you're bigger than me. You're a man. You don't. I mean, I'm not gonna ignore another man's call, but just hey, I had a second. Second thought. I decided I want to stay here. So as a 7-foot man, I mean, come on, man. You're 7 feet tall. You're a man. Just answer the phone and say, I don't want to play for you, son. What is he gonna do? Beat you up, sit dirt after you? Like, come on, man.
But and as we talked about with Doc, I can see why people like Mike and Mike said that they expected more because it's all about character. I mean, because at the end of the day, you only have your word. You're only as good as your word, and so you would have thought that, as they said, Doc. I mean, the thing is, I understand they want him that badly, but you could,
even if, let Doc answer the phone and say, "Hey, Mark, what's up? This is Doc. Are you? This is Doc. I mean, I mean, it was just disrespectful, man. It was just disrespectful. I understand Mark Cuban being upset about it. I know other players on the team on this team has spoken out about it as well. It was just wrong. And it's gonna definitely change. I mean, I know after next year when they go back into the new contracts with the league and the union, that's gonna change. Like if you're gonna agree, you're gonna sign this contract right now, so we don't have this problem again. Because it is not necessarily a rule that you can't do it. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is frowned upon.
Yeah. I mean, and like I said, you're only as good as your word.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some other moves that took place in the free agent. I mean, obviously, you think the Cleveland Cavaliers, do you think they've gotten stronger by just the re-signing of their players?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Cleveland were just really one player away from winning the title. I mean, as far as like if Kevin Love or Kyrie, or really just Kyrie, I know, I read reports about Draymond Green, laughing about that, saying if he was 7 feet tall, he'd be Anthony Davis. But I mean, really, I think that with Kyrie not being in the mix, it really changed the whole structure of the game. I mean, because you think that first game, Kyrie was putting defense on Steph Curry. I mean, he was putting defense on him, and then he turned around and got hurt, and then the Warriors pulled it out. I mean, it was just late times in the game where LeBron was just spent. And I mean, to not have that other threat that they would have to worry about. I mean, they really had nobody else to worry about. And so I think with Kevin Love coming back, Kyrie coming back, Tristan Thompson, he definitely emerged this year. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to be a serious threat.
Yeah, and I think, in all honesty, what will have to happen for Cleveland because I think towards the end of the season they're going to have to make sure that their players are rested. Yeah. And even if you have to sacrifice like 3 or 4 games at the end, granted, if you have enough of a cushion for a home court or whether depending on where you're seated, I'd rest the players because they need to because LeBron plays a lot. He plays a lot of minutes, and I mean I know he's played more minutes than anybody in the league over the last 5 years because just how far. They've made in the playoffs. So I mean, when it gets down to crunch time, they really, especially the coach, whoever the coach may be, will really need to watch those minutes on the players and give them as much rest going into the playoffs as possible. So so freak injuries even that happened to Kevin Love doesn't happen to because he was already battered and bruised as well as Kyrie. So this offseason. Hopefully, all they're doing is just swimming and just staying away from anything dealing with basketball.
That's the downside is that as great as they can be as a team and possible NBA champions, you always have that fear factor of their injuries. It's the same with like Kobe coming back this year. I love Kobe, but he's not gonna be the same Kobe Bryant that he was. I mean, it takes a toll on you. I mean, he's older, so I think he's gonna come in. I think Kobe could still come back and average 20 points a game. I just believe in him like that. But I mean, it just changes everything. Kevin Durant being out, like he was. I mean, I think if Kevin Durant was in there, the playoffs would have been a lot different too. I'm not saying that Golden State would have won, but with a healthy Kevin Durant, the way Russell Westbrook was, playing this year like a madman, that's just the only downside to the game. It's that what if factor. And the fact of the matter is, Golden State Warriors are the 2015 champions, and hats off to them because they deserve it. But I can't wait to see what the season looks like with every team having their team like it should be. Everybody's healthy. The Lakers are restructuring. And so I'm not sure what that's going to look like. I watched one of the Summer League games last night, and they actually looked really good. Jordan Clarkson and Russell, they picked up a first-round draft pick. So I think it'll be okay. I'm not going to say we're going to win the shit, but we might make the playoffs. So, but, yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely looking forward to Cleveland, seeing what they can do as long as they're healthy.
Man, switching to – this won't be our final topic because we'll talk about the Major League Baseball All-Star game after this. But let's turn the table to a little something serious. This is a serious topic dealing with Florida State University and their players. You got Dalvin Cook, the running back, who was just suspended over the weekend for a physical altercation with a female. That actually took place the night before their quarterback, or former quarterback, DeAndre Johnson, punched a woman in a bar. He was summarily dismissed once the videotape. He was initially indefinitely suspended, but then once the videotape came out, he was kicked off the team. Now, we had a chance to both view the video. What was your initial thoughts? And just so we can kind of walk through this, initially, he walks through. He tries to get to the bar. There's a white lady. I guess she looks like she's talking to someone. She's in conversation, whatever. She pushes him, and they go back and forth arguing. She allegedly calls him a racial epithet, knees him in the groin, and then swings on him, and then he cold cocks her. And she doesn't fall or anything. Past us, I don't know if alcohol may have had anything to do with it, whatever. She, kept her senses or what have you. But he was later arrested for assault and released on bail. What are your overall thoughts about that? And give me, tell us what you think about that.
You can't put yourself in those situations.
Yeah.
The thing is that one, if you aren't in the club situation, you're not in the club scene, that wouldn't have occurred. Okay, the reality is, young kid out having a good time with friends.
But he's 19 and a bar that serves alcohol.
Shouldn't be there. That's just first and foremost. I know some states.
The bar should not have let them in there.
Oh yeah, but you look at these guys, they're stars. They're in there. Even on college football is so big in this country. So a lot of these college stars are like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning on the college level. Look at James Winston, how much he was just even though he was in a spotlight for a lot of the wrong reasons, he was still looked at as a celebrity even before. Johnny Manziel, a celebrity even before he came into the league. So a lot of these guys are on this pedestal that that we put them on. We put them on their fans, we put them on there. So the bar shouldn't have allowed it. That's another thing. But you for me, I don't get with domestic violence. I just feel like as a man, I have enough in me to either restrain myself from hitting you or restrain you from hitting me to where I don't have to hit you. I understand people say, well, you hit, you that person's gonna get hit back, and I get that. But he's a football player. He's a man. He has men tackling him regularly. I know that you can restrain this woman and say, "Hey, you better calm down, chill out. Hey, security, come get her." So there's just ways. There's just ways around it, and I'm not saying that she's right. Especially if she called him, racial slur. I definitely think that, that's unacceptable. But as a man, you have to put yourself in a situation that, or understand the situation that I can, I can restrain it. I can prevent this from happening. When she started, getting rowdy with him, I said, you know what? All right, go ahead, let her do whatever she was gonna do. I understand that. I think the reports are that she kicked him in the groin or whatever, and so that it's kind of hard. But I still feel like he can restrain her to where the punch wouldn't have had to happen, and his future wouldn't be in jeopardy. I mean, because now he's not on the team. Who's to say if he's going to be able to get on anybody else's team or even ever make it to the NFL, which is his dreams? Like, I'm not going to jeopardize my dream for anybody, and that's how you have to look at it. And with the the other kid, running back. I mean, from the reports that I read, was that it wasn't even initially him involved in the situation. It was a friend of his, and then he came back, and words were exchanged, and then the witnesses alleging that and I'm just saying alleged because I mean he hasn't been proven guilty yet, that he repeatedly punched her. I, it's like what do you do? It's like, for me, it's easy for me to say what I wouldn't or would do because I don't go out. I don't go to clubs. I don't put myself in that scene. I did once upon a time, and I understood that by going out, certain things could happen that could either, affect my life or somebody else's life. And so you just have to be smarter than that. And again, that goes back to the people you have around you, the friends, the type of family, the type of upbringing that you have. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, I'll be honest. I think Chris Rock said it best one time. There's a reason to do everything, but you just don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he says there's a reason to push old men down a flight of steps, but you just don't do it. I mean, because if a woman's coming at you with a knife or something, there's a reason to put a stop to it.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's different. I mean, that's life or death. Life or death. I'm gonna inflict pain on you.
There's a reason for anything. You just don't do it. Now, like you, I wouldn't have put myself in a situation where even being at a club, because even when I was in college, involved in college sports, stuff like that, that was just something that just didn't. Even when I was playing in a fraternity and just, like dances that we had on campus, I really didn't want to go to, and I didn't go to. I may have went to maybe 2 the entire time I was in college, because, I mean, the 2 times I went, fights broke out. Like, dude, seriously?
Yeah.
I mean, so it's like, I don't need this. I'm like, dude, I left this in high school back home. I don't need to, go to college and have to deal with this stuff. So, and then I've always been able to see, whether it's on television or just in life, you can see what alcohol does to people,
right?
Because it is a drug. Mm-hmm. Because me and our little brother Devontae were involved in a car accident. Actually, it was a car that I bought from you. Mm-hmm. It was a white 4-door.
Like a Buick Century.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
had to bring that up.
Yeah,
You had to bring that up. That was when the struggle was real.
And it's funny, Devontae had always, for some reason he wanted me to take him to the car wash. He just wanted to watch. So I said, okay, cool. Picked him up from Mama's house, and we were going to the car wash. And a drunk guy. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I had literally just got off. I think I was doing something with Tony G at the radio station. We're going to the car wash, driving past Quick Trip, and next you know, a blue, and I'll never forget, a blue Ford Mustang convertible crossed the lanes and hit his head on because the guy was drunk. A drunk driver. I mean, now, had we not been wearing our seatbelts, we could have been killed. I know I should have been killed simply because of, initially when it happened, he hit his head on, and my initial reaction was to extend my right arm to keep Devontae from flying out of his seatbelt through the windshield. But when that happened, I hit the windshield, cracked the windshield. The steering wheel gets stuck underneath my neck just because of how the force reaction. And then the car hit it so hard that the engine was coming through the car on my lap. Shockingly, it didn't burn my legs. But and then ended up going to the hospital, and then I walked away from it. That's by the grace of God. But that's all because a guy was as drunk at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and didn't have his senses. So, that's in broad daylight. So imagine if you're in a nightclub scene and you don't know if anybody's mixing stuff in the alcohol, and we don't know how many drinks she may have. We don't even know how many drinks he may have had before. So we don't know if really alcohol had any effect on his mind frame when he went to the bar, because he could have been going to the bar to get more drinks, to get a drink for a lady.
He could have been going to get water.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm saying he was drunk. He could have been going to get anything, but you don't. You can't put yourself in that situation.
Yeah, and we've talked about it because if we're somewhere in general and we get into a little altercation, with somebody arguing, if somebody initially knees us in our groin, and then swings on us, your initial reaction is to swing.
Yeah.
I mean, so
if it's a man, that goes without saying.
Yeah, that's true. Now, I think, however, because it was a woman, normally, if he would have been with a woman, if she would have been nearby, I don't think that goes down. Because even if she swings on him, the girl is going to more than likely 95 come into play.
You swing on me, my wife is going to get you. So I'm just going to step back and watch her work.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So, but in that regard, and I also fault the guy that she was talking to, because it's like, it initially makes you wonder, because granted he's coming to, but you don't know what set everything off. Right. Was he just trying to get by to get to the bar? Right. She was, because I think according to this, it looked like she kept trying to keep him from getting to. It
looked crowded.
Yeah, exactly.
It could have been simply just a irritation. People bumping. That's why I didn't like the clubs, and I hate to get bumped into. So it just looked crowded, and it looked like one of those things where I'm trying to get to the bar. To me, when I looked at it, it looked like who's going to get to the bar first, and it looked like he was about to be there. She cut him off, like, no, you're going to wait, kind of thing.
I thought according to the video that she was already at the bar talking with somebody, and it looked like she kept backing up to like block him from getting to. That's what it looked like to me. Okay. But like I said, all this stuff happening in the bar, and I like two-stepping now, but even though I was going to the club, whatever, to learn, now that I've learned and I've perfected it, I'm good, but I've perfected it. I kind of don't like, even when they have these parties, the parties are fine, nothing really happens, but I still don't like being in that club atmosphere. For some reason, I'd rather just be at a casino versus being out of the club. Because years ago over 692, when you had doggone security shooting at cops, it's like, come on, man, seriously. Yeah. Everybody was, the cops were off duty, but it's the sheer fact that it went down like that. And it's like, man, if you can't be safe there, why even do it? And so, but now, what do you think about Florida State? Do you think they overreacted in regards to where, because video came out of this guy punching the girl? That's the reason why he was kicked off the team, because initially he was just suspended. Right. And granted, the state prosecutor they were going to do the investigation that they're doing with the running back. But like Jameis Winston, he was always accused of rape. versus just punching somebody. And because, no video pictures ever came out of the girl, and of course, maybe because he was a quarterback, he had just won a high school, led them to and he was leading them to a national, because at the time they hadn't won, he was leading them to a national championship. So do you think that they overreacted or do you think they did what they did to set an example to where, because after the Jameis Winston stuff, it's like, what, we have got to do something because, it's starting to, I don't think it hasn't affected the bottom line yet, but, but the negative publicity cannot be helped.
I think it was definitely to set an example. I mean, you look at the Ray Rice situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's caught on tape. It's like we see you, regardless of what was said. Our society, men are not supposed to hit women. That's just how our society is. That's how most of us are raised. You don't hit a woman, no matter what. That's how most of us are raised. And so in our society, when you see it, it's one thing that, Jameis Winston was accused of, allegedly raping someone, sexually assaulting, or he was allegedly accused of, stealing the crab legs or whatnot. When you see video, it makes it plain. It said, okay, you actually did this. I see you. And so I feel like you have to make an example because, again, as an organization, as a program that, as big as Florida State University, they have to let it be known that this is not going to be tolerated. You are getting, at most times, a lot of these star athletes, you're getting a full ride. You're not having to pay for college. You will never have to worry about, Fannie Mae and all these other people. You don't have to worry about all that. We're covering you. All you have to do is play football. That's it. That's all you have to.
And go to class.
I mean, if you're a star, you could probably get somebody to do your work. I'm not saying it's right, but you could probably get it done. So my thing is that you really, and the thing is, you don't even have to go 4 years. You don't even have to go to school for 4 years like the rest of us, that try to get a degree. You only have to go to school, 2 years in college football?
Yeah.
2 years. That's it. That's all you have to do. So all you have to do is keep your.
Well, I think that you have to be there till you're 21 or 2 3 years.
Yeah. But it's still paid for if you're a star. What are you doing? What are you doing? So they have to set an example. This is not going to be tolerated in our program because the thing is, if you let it go, somebody else does it, and then you do something else. Say, well, okay, well, you didn't do nothing to him when he did it, and it turns into a lawsuit. It turns into something else. You have to set a precedence somewhere, and I think that they did the right thing. And I think they really did, regardless of how the situation came about. The fact that you can actually see it. I know the whole thing is you're innocent until proven guilty. Well, we see you hit her, and you can't do that.
Well, it could be worse. You could be Bill Cosby. That's another subject.
Oh,
yeah, we said we're gonna keep it on sports, but I had to do it. But so before we leave, before we end this very first episode of Digital Talk with Darren and Arian Smith, put you up. Let's talk about what's coming up this week. We have the 2015 Major League Baseball All-Star Game is taking place in Cincinnati. I'll be leaving probably tomorrow or first thing early Monday morning up to Cincinnati for the game to cover with my guy Steve Walls and the Sideline Sports Talk. Give me your thoughts. We got 7 Royals that are going to be playing in the All-Star game. 4 that were voted as starters. So give me your thoughts on that.
I think it's great. I love what last year did for our city. To see the Royals basically come back to greatness in a sense. I know we didn't win the World Series, but it almost felt like, we were almost there. We was there, we were close. But to see how it brought the city together, I just remember, driving pick up my girls from daycare and seeing people headed to the game with the Royal shirt on, everybody hunking at each other, and, just the camaraderie that came about from that. I just think it was great, man. To see it, I know right now this year, we've been kind of labeled as the bad boys, because of the incidents with the Oakland A's earlier in the year. But to see the Royals be as great as they can be, to see 7 of our guys going to the All-Star game, that's amazing to me, man. I mean, really, I think they had to redo the votes because we were, we would have the whole team in there pretty much. The whole side line, But I mean, to see it, I think it's great. I think it's great for our city. I think it's great for baseball because you have people from our city who are more tuned in to baseball now than ever before. I mean, I know people that I know on Facebook, like, you don't watch no baseball, but because this is our city, people want to back them and support them, and I think it's great.
Yeah, it's fine. I tell people all the time, and then when I talk to my guy Steve when we do our show, I tell him, everything to me starts with the manager, Yost.
Yeah.
Because
I like Yost.
Yeah. He really is. And it's funny because in the post game press conferences, man, he's always, he gives you like that. He's kind of like Marshawn Lynch. He just gives you answers. He gives you answers like probably like, dude, why you asking me this dumb? Almost, basically, he was like, why you ask me the dumbass question?
Right.
But he doesn't say it, but he just gives you he just gives you that look. It's like, because I made that decision. I mean, but it's like the players bought into whatever it was he was selling last year, which was a good thing because none of the players had been used to winning. Right. And so last year, whatever he did, most of the time I was out of town, and then I was working on the campus. I had to get a chance to experience their playoff drive like everybody else. I had to watch it from a distance. And, but knowing sports and knowing what he had to do, everybody bought into whatever it was he was selling, whatever he was cooking. They smelled what he was cooking.
Yeah.
And
Dwayne Rock Johnson reference.
Yes.
Catch that.
But the thing that was most impressive is that they respect what he was teaching them because it paid dividends.
Right.
I mean, they were 8-0 initially, going through the playoffs, before the World Series and stuff. And so next thing you know, they come back and I was telling Steve that they remind me of the Tennessee Titans against St. Louis when they were 1 yard short, in the Super Bowl. But granted, I think this season will end better than how Tennessee did the following season. But it's like they were just 90 feet away from winning the World Series. And it's like if they can do it, I mean, they have the best record in the American League. I mean, I saw up close at the beginning of the season when I was taking pictures on the field. I'm just sitting there looking at it like, man, they have a dominant team. And we talk about it all the time, myself and Steve, is that, anybody can hurt you on any, because they, from 1 through 8, 1 through 9. I mean, they have, Kevin Dyson, he can't hit worth the lick, but you put him on base. I mean, he get, what was it, last week or whatever, when the guy had a 3-1 triple or inside park grand slam, whatever. I mean, he flies from first base and scores home. Yeah. I mean, he reminds me of Wesley Snipes from Major League.
Major League. Willie Mays Hayes.
Willie Mays Hayes. And so when I, just going out to see him, I mean, and to be honest, he just, Yost is a beast, as we said, but his players are just good guys. I mean, just talking to him after the game, post game, I really like Lorenzo Cain. He has a few others. My guy, DeJuan Bonds, I had to give him a little shout out. He cuts their hair. DeJuan's cut my hair for a number of years now. And I do work with him out of his barbershop. But he's the official Royals barber, and he cuts a lot of Chiefs players' heads and stuff. And so when I initially got credentialed out there, I said, hey, is there anybody I need to, talk to? The first person he told me to was go introduce yourself to Lorenzo Cain. He said, tell him I said, that you good, and that's that. So I see Lorenzo, say, hey, granted, he's younger than I am, but I'm still like, hey, Mr. Cain. So he's like, I said, hey, look, man, DeJuan to me. DeJuan, he said, man, what that stuff? Like, man, I had DeJuan on the phone. He said, man, put him on the phone. So he talks to him. DeJuan said, hey, woo. Next thing you know, he tells me, what he said, do whenever you want to interview, just come out of it. If I don't talk to nobody else, I'll talk to you.
That's what's up.
I mean, so I talked to actually the one that called me. I called him earlier today. I was at a barbershop, but he wasn't out there. And so when he called me back, I told him, I said, look, we're gonna be making the drive to Cincinnati. He said, if you get a chance, put a call into Lorenzo, let him know I'll be out there, and see if we stop through. He was like, he said, I don't have to do it. He said, I'll run by him, but he said, but I don't have to. He said, if he sees you, you got all the time in the world you need because he's just that kind of guy. Plus, he's already told you what's what. So I mean, and that's just dealing with Lorenzo. I mean, other players like the Escobar, the rest of them are all cool like that, but I just use Lorenzo as an example of the type of players that they have and just the type
It's
of
like a
people that
brotherhood.
it's just like the people that they
That's
have.
how you win, man. I mean, you look at, I'm a diehard NBA fan. That's my thing. But you look at the Golden State Warriors. That's a brotherhood, the Splash Brothers. That's something that was, I think, really built by Mark Jackson and perfected by Steve Kerr. I think Mark Jackson,
I just think he got it wrong. Yeah, I still think they could have won.
yeah, he got it wrong. Yeah, I think they could have did it with Mark Jackson, but Steve Kerr with his championship background, playing with Michael Jordan, playing under Phil Jackson, playing under Greg Popovich with the Spurs. That stuff trickles down.
Yeah.
Really, if you don't,
winning breeds winning.
Exactly. And so if you don't learn anything from greatness, something's wrong with you, not the greatness. That's why when people even say about Kobe, people don't want to play with Kobe. Well, granted, Kobe may be somebody that wants to ball all the time, but he's still a great player. He's got 5 championships. You can learn something from him. It's something that you can learn from him. LeBron, they say, well, he's only got 2. He's lost. You can still learn something from this man. There's greatness in him, and that's my thing. Where I see with the Royals, I think that there's a brotherhood and there's greatness on that team that we saw last year. That I think that is still carrying over to this year. Obviously, look at the All-Star vote and look at the record. I'm just hoping and praying that it just takes us all the way to the World Series and bring it back. We ain't had it since '85, baby. I was alive for that. I don't remember it. I didn't get to party or anything like that, but I was here. So we did it together.
I think that might have been, actually, I'm trying to think. That, you know what? We were not on 77th and Alpha Prospect.
It was a struggle. We were actually living good. We was living good then.
We were living good.
We was living good then, but shout out to Daddy.
You're better.
You're better, man.
Well, we're gonna shout you out in the future, but shout out right now. But that's good. So, like I said, myself and Steve will be headed out to Cincinnati. So keep us in your thoughts and prayers, and we'll head out there. But Arian, man, this has been a good first show, man.
Yeah, man, it's awesome, man.
I like that.
Digital.
I mean, it's funny because, like I said initially, we were in the office, we were shooting emails, and I just said, man, you know what? We got to do a show. You was like, let's do it. I was like, fool you, man. You I'm like, dude, I got all the equipment. I said, all my stuff that came in now. So all you gotta do is say the words. So.
You already know, I'll talk all things sports. I'll talk tennis. I'll talk professional wrestling. Yes, the WWE. Shout out to Vince McMahon. I'll talk UFC. I mean, I just love sports, man. So it's been a pleasure doing it, man. I can't wait to do more.
Oh yeah, I mean, we'll just have to try to do something. We will try to build in a schedule, and it may just be something on the weekend because I know we have obviously duties during the week and stuff like that. So it may be on a Saturday afternoon. I may have to, I mean, it's obviously more feasible for me for.
Yeah, daddy daycare on mine.
You know what I'm saying?
Shout out to my lovely wife and my kids.
And we have to bring the kids over and let them get a little 2 seconds of TV time.
And make it interactive, man. You got questions, shoot them to us, man. And
we'll
I'd love to hear your opinions and your thoughts. And you want to tell us to shut up, that's fine. I'm not gonna do it, but you can tell me. Nah, it's fun, man.
We don't want to pull a cook or something on you.
Nah, I don't pull no cook.
But hey, for the first show, I want to thank everybody for watching this. So we're going to load this up on our Facebook pages so people can get a little idea of what we talked about, and then for the next show and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I'll be look out for us on Facebook this week. I know myself and Steve will be doing some shows from Cincinnati and outside the stadium. Maybe I don't know how they have the setup for us to do inside the stadium, but we'll see what happens. So, but for Arian Smith and myself, Darren Smith, thanking you for joining us here on Digital Talk.
Peace.